A collaboration between the Burpee Museum in Rockford and Native American people from the Sac and Fox, Potawatomi, and Ojibwa nations helped the community learn about the culture, language, and history of Native American people. The day included the chance to see wildlife and the importance of drum culture. One of the cultural educators says some Native American heritage is sometimes misunderstood by the community. So events like this are truly learning experiences for people. He adds there are more than 525 recognized tribes and 200 unrecognized tribes, and it's important the community learns about each one of them.
There may be a lot of similarities, but there's always that little thread that makes it their own. So when you kind of try to lump all of the Native American cultures into one thing, you're doing a great disservice to all of them, and each one has something valuable to share.